Now, this camera is truly amazing, but let me show you exactly where the line of usability is. Portraits, A+, perfect. Almost perfect camera. Pet portraits, man, pets are a little bit too fast for this camera. So the first big downfall of this camera, speed. Autofocus on the first party lenses, slow. Manual focus on some of the third party lenses you can adapt to this camera, that's only as fast as you're gonna be, or me, and that's pretty slow. When you're using film simulations to process the images, slow. When you're uploading the giant 50 megapixel RAW files onto your computer, that's pretty slow. Most of the functions you do with this camera feel very slow when you compare it to the blazing fast speed of a brand new Sony or Canon mirrorless camera. Those cameras don't have the same level of quality that you're gonna get with this sensor. And I'm not talking about megapixels. There's plenty of phones that have the same megapixel count, but the color and the feeling is something else entirely and can't exactly be described by numbers on a spreadsheet. The level of quality and color that comes out of this camera makes me feel like it can really only be compared to film. And if we're comparing it to film cameras, this thing is super fast. Essentially, I need there to be a bigger difference between my camera and my iPhone. And with the previous Sony that I had, that gap was becoming non-existent. Now that we've compared this camera a little bit more to film, I want to talk about the lenses. I tried out the kit lens before buying any other first-party lenses because I wanted to see if the autofocus was worth the massive price tag. Spoiler alert, it's not. The autofocus is just not up to par. That test and my friend's video got me thinking about converting old medium format film lenses to this camera. You can check out his video for a more in-depth look on Mamiya 645 glass on the GFX system. But let me tell you, this is where the money zone is for this camera. If reliable autofocus is an important part of your workflow, don't buy this camera. If you don't mind the autofocus thing, and you can embrace using old vintage medium format lenses, that as a kit is much cheaper than buying a entirely first party Sony or Canon mirrorless full frame kit. Now let me give you my perfectly accurate, unquestionable list of people that can actually use this camera and should probably buy it. People who shoot high-end portraits and fashion, people who shoot film, need a digital option, people who can buy all the first-party lenses and frankly just have too much money. To those people also, do you mind if I borrow like just a few $1,000s? You know, I'm on my way to my job and I forgot that this thing is actually amazing landscape photography. I don't do it that much, so that's why I kind of didn't mention it. But like, we got some beautiful clouds here today. I'm gonna take some pictures. Here they are. Now, I think these examples are relatively important because I do think you need to know what you're getting yourself into. It's an expensive body. Most of the features are generally not up to par with some modern day cameras. But what you do get is a body that is amazing to build off of. It's a little bit bigger than 35mm, but that means a lot of good 35mm lenses still work on this camera. Those factors that you can't necessarily put on a spreadsheet are sometimes the most important. Specifically the color science with this camera. The dynamic range from the sensor is still some of the best out of any stills camera. Even though the sensor is 5+ years old and it's being used in medium format Pentax cameras, medium format Fuji cameras, and Hasselblad cameras. While other photographers on YouTube might say, oh, this is similar to film, it slows you down. For me, this is the opposite direction. This is a film camera replacement that speeds me back up to that perfect Goldilocks zone. I don't think I would have bought this camera, the 50S2, if it weren't on sale for almost $1,000 off. And if I didn't get help from a friend, Raymond, shout out, So if you're looking to buy one of these medium format cameras, this might not be my recommended body. I would look into adapting older lenses on a 50R, or going further and buying a 100S or 100S2. So yeah, those are my first impressions of the Fujifilm GFX50S II. Bye forever. Again, if any of you guys have bought the full lens kit for the GFX system, my Venmo account is at Jericho.